Welcome to the DonorWise Learning Library. This session is on the Bank Import module and specifically the new Multiple Designation feature. This is a great new feature in DonorWise 2.0 that enables us to take a single incoming donation from a donor but split it into multiple designations and just assign that right in DonorWise and eliminate any manual work after that. The session is broken up into two parts. This first one is on how to actually set up the bank profile to accept multiple designations. The second one is going to be on how to assign the cross-references for those. Quick overview, you're going to continue to use the same bank file as before. We're just going to change the way DonorWise reads that. There's a new field called Total Tendered Amount. This new target field ensures that the total of the individual designations equals the total amount of the donation. We're going to add some new derived fields for each designation and amount, and to do that we actually need to combine the description or reference code and the amount to create a unique match. We'll use wildcards for fields that do not have multiple designations. You may have not used wildcards before, but we'll need those for any donor that does not give to multiple designations. And before we go into the bank import, let me just show you where we assign the number of designations that we're going to allow in our bank import. This is found in the Tools System Setup area. Down at the very bottom of the Donations tab, it says Batch Import, number of designations possible per row. And what you're going to do there is select the maximum number of designations that you're going to use. And you'll want to base this on the highest number that you're actually receiving. So if you have one donor who's giving to 10 designations, then you would put 10 here, even if all of your other donors are only giving to one. All right, let's go over to DonorWise and take a look at how we do this here. This is the bank import screen. I'm going to assume you're already familiar with the bank import procedure, and I'm not going to try to explain that here. I just want to show you what's changed in DonorWise 2.0. Now I have a very simple bank file here, just 3 rows, and they are all donations. So there's a date field as before. This is the date of the gift. We need that. And then a transaction type. Now I've taken out any kind of deposits or bills that are paid or service charges, leaving only donations. And that's going to be my skip record field. And then I have the unique reference code that makes this row special, something that identifies this particular donation as being from a certain donor to a certain designation, and then the amount of that donation. So for the reference code, we're going to use that to be the donor ID. Okay, that's easy. Now the amount code previously would have been the tendered amount because that would have been the total of the gift. But now we're going to assign it with this new name called Total Tendered Amount because we want DonorWise to add up the individual gifts in this row to the total that appears here. This will prevent us from making an error and assigning too much or too little to any specific donor. Now we still need the fields for the designations, both who the designations are for each of the splits, as well as the amount going to each of those designations. And so we'll do that by adding derived fields. And you probably have done this already, at least, to add a single designation. So I'll just call this designation ID 1. And I'm going to duplicate that reference field. But I'm also going to add in the amount field. And what this does is creates a unique combination of the reference field there with the amount. And that way, if the donor ever changes their amount, we don't have to worry about those changes having a negative impact on the splits. DonorWise is going to recognize that the amount has changed on the gift, therefore the splits are no longer valid, and it will alert us to that, and that can be very helpful down the road. So there I have the designation ID 1. But I need to know how much is going to the first designation as well, so I'm going to add a new one and call this tendered amount 1. And I'm going to add the exact same fields, the reference field and the amount field. So there I have a column for the designation and which amount. On the field map, let me go ahead and drag those over there. So I have designation ID 1. Now it doesn't show a 1 because this bank import still works with old bank import, so there's no 1 there, and tendered amount 1. Problem is I still have number 2 and number 3 yet to go, and the number of fields that appear on this screen equals what I have defined in the system setup. So I have 3 in my system setup, therefore I have 3 sets of designations, tendered amounts, etc. here. Okay, so now I need to come back and add a designation ID 2 and a tendered amount 2. I'll do that real quick and be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now here we have all 6 of the derived fields. 1 for each designation, 1, 2, and 3, and 1 for the amounts for each of those designations, 1, 2, and 3. And notice that the fields are derived from the exact same combination of reference or description and amount. I come back to the field mapping and I drag designation ID 2 over and designation ID 3 over, as well as tendered amount over and tendered amount over. So now I have all of the fields that I need for this bank import, designation ID 1 and 2 and 3 and the amounts. And what DonorWise is going to do is when I define the cross references, it's going to take the amount from each of these designations, gifts, and add them up to make sure that they equal this one. And that's what we're going to cover in the second video. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.